Hello and welcome to this training session. This video is meant to remind you that confined spaces are hazardous places to work in and that it is very important to be prepared and have a rescue plan in case of an emergency. Watch this video carefully. Remember that you can pause and review it as often as you consider necessary. Pay attention to the procedures shown and how the rescue team deals with the emergency. You should note down at least 3 procedures you think are important for such a rescue exercise. Think as well, what would you change and improve when running such a procedure in your plant? Be prepared to discuss these points with your supervisor or instructor. Specifically, what could be applied in your meal system. There's a story around the video, and this is what happened. The cement mill stopped due to tripping of discharge conveyors. Considering the mill was already stopped, it was decided to inspect the liners in compartment 2. The operator had notified there was a strange sound at a specific position of the mill during operation. Assumption was that a liner plate was broken and may need replacement. The trunnion at mill feed end was opened and the mesh of the intermediate diaphragm removed. The operator went into the mill and started inspecting the liners. After a few minutes, the watchman posted outside the mill noticed that the light carried by the operator was not moving anymore. He called him, but got no response. He realized something was wrong. Immediately radioed the central control room and gave the alarm. It took just a few minutes for the rescue team to arrive. One of them went into the mill with a blanket to protect the operator against the hot grinding media. Meanwhile, the rescue gear was brought on site. A stretcher introduced into the mill. The operator secured onto it, and he was finally carried out of the mill head first to give him fresher air to breathe as quickly as possible. The operator was then carried down the stairs, feet first, to avoid excess blood flow to the head. Notice the operator is still wrapped in the blanket used to protect him against the grinding media. Once outside, first aid can start, in this case with the supervision of the plant medic. The rescue procedure took 18 minutes. In this particular case, the rescue team members belong to the fire brigade of the neighboring community. Your plant may not have the options for using such professional firefighters, and rescue teams will be formed with the plant personnel. Make sure teams are available for each shift, and that all practice such exercises. You are asked to note down at least 3 procedures which you think are important to the exercise. Please pause the video now and discuss with your instructor about your findings. After the discussion with your instructor, please continue watching this video to know more about additional lessons learned from the practice run. Let us start with the critical points to remember. The first one is an important recommendation. Store a section of belt conveyor, about 1.50 meters or 5 feet, to use as protection against the grinding media of the mill. A good solution is to lay the piece of belt on the steel grating platform of the mill trunnions. It will always be available in case of an emergency. The second recommendation relates to the rescue equipment. It should be stored in a clean and safe place, easily accessible when needed. Carry the rescue gear next to the meal inlet and examine those passages difficult to access. Think how you can safely handle the stretcher with someone in it across those difficult bends. Show as well to all related personnel how to properly use this gear: the blankets, ropes, carry bags, stretchers. Make these demonstrations regularly, at least every 6 months. And now let us look at the possible improvements to bring for the next exercise. To start with, lighting should operate on low voltage. Always position the light reflectors in such a way they do not interfere with the passage through the trunnion. When using power tools, make sure they operate through an isolation transformer and fix or hang the cables to avoid damages or short circuits. In many plants, it is mandatory to use dust masks next to cement mills. These masks may impair communication between the rescue team members. Check the regulations in your plant to confirm whether an exception can be made in such an emergency. The key elements of our rescue procedures are to isolate and protect the injured person from the environment of the confined space. The rescue gear should be readily accessible, and all rescue team members should be trained on a regular basis. Practice makes perfection. To conclude, remember that prevention is the best way to avoid emergency situations. Anyone entering a confined space must be trained and receive the corresponding authorization to do so. A watchman must be posted outside the confined space and remain there at all times while people are working inside the confined space. She should observe the colleagues and keep contact with them. Finally, make sure to schedule sufficient breaks to go out of the confined space, especially if it is very hot, and drink plenty of water. Thank you for taking notice, and be safe, always.